Bill Gates, we talked last week about him, which is frightening. And everything you're saying, I mean, not all the details, but, I've heard about what he's up to for years, which is no good. So I want to talk about George Soros. And you talk about the guy that he is just the devil. Yeah. I mean, for example, in San Francisco, he was behind this attorney district attorney in San Francisco that didn't believe in the law and was letting all the criminals set free. He was behind him to try to, all over America, trying to get people elected that were lawless. Yep. And so there was he sponsored a group in America that was trying to go to young people in America, turn them against Israel. Right. And so this guy has an agenda, and he's all over the world. So talk about George Soros. We're talking about the Antichrist kingdom. Right. And we won't know who the Antichrist is. The church won't be here. We talked about that last week, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. We're going to be gone, and then he's going to show up. Right. But right now, the Antichrist kingdom is being set up. So we're talking about these men in the context of Donald Trump being elected didn't stop the Antichrist kingdom from being checked. It didn't stop Bill Gates from being Bill Gates or George Soros from being George Soros. So what is George Soros doing to set up the Antichrist kingdom?
George Soros is tied to the hip with Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. In fact, every single one of these characters that we bring out, including Bill Gates, Kill Gates, is also working towards the same agenda. But the Antichrist kingdom, what I call basically the four pillars, is it's going to be a society around the world that's going to have a one world government, a one world religion, a one world economy that is biometrically tied into people, specifically the right hand and the forehead. We expose George Soros as helping that to happen. And part of his modus operandi goes back to, believe it or not, the phrase that comes out of Freemasonry, which is a whole other topic, order out of chaos. Order out of chaos. And so the way that these guys operate to bring in a one world government and this new global economy is you create a crisis and then you manage the outcome. And that's why I call him the disruptor elite. Bill Gates was the depopulation elite. He's the disruptor. He is currently involved, Pastor Jimmy, not just in America, but in about 120 different countries. Wow. And in every single case, he goes there to disrupt, to create chaos. Yes. And then just like we did with Bill Gates, who's the real Bill Gates? Because you're getting a smokescreen right now. Who's the real George Soros? You're getting a smokescreen right now. I had to do a deep dive in the history. Why? Because that's the phrase we saw last time. Know the history, know the man. You want to know the man, you got to know the history. So what I figured out is there's two things that makes George Soros tick. Just like Bill Gates. Everything he does is to make money, murder people. George Soros, it's make money and control people. And even that control is on the back of people suffering so that he can make even more money. Yeah. Right. But also usher in a one world government, which he is clearly wanting to have.
Absolutely.
Cashless society. He's a huge supporter of that. Right. And part of it is because he's going to make bank. But here's what he does. And here's what he's been doing from the get-go. He goes in, you're like, why is he messing with people? Why is he creating riots? He's doing it again with the Trump administration. Yeah. And they know he's doing it. Yeah. Well, then stop him. Why is this guy's a traitor? But why is he going in purposely causing trouble? I get it that he's against Trump. I get it that he's the one that we now know verbatim. It's not a conspiracy theory. He was the one that was funding Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all that baloney that went on. He was the one through his organization that was paying for pallets of bricks to be delivered so they'd have something to throw at the window. I mean, it's on. Why is he doing it? Because here's his how he operates. Make money, control people. He goes into an area and he creates a crisis. And if it's a big enough crisis, it will begin to hurt the economy of that area. It will affect the stock market, right? And so that means it goes down. And then he purposely creates those riots and crisis and agendas, and it drives the market down. When it's down, he goes in with his money and he buys. Then he backs off. The riots go away. What happens to the market? Goes back up. sells it, he makes bank.
Yeah.
And we're not talking millions, we're talking billions.
Sure.
Now, he started this process decades ago in England, if you do the research. And in fact, if you do just a very cursory study, he's called the man who almost broke the Bank of London, right? And what he did on purpose, not a conspiracy theory, is he rigged the market, and he literally, which by the way, causes people suffering to lose their job, livelihood. He doesn't care. And he admitted that on tape. And he went in and manipulated the market, and it tanked so bad, right? And then was allowed to come back. But at the end of the day, you know how much money he made?
How much?
$1 billion. He made $1 billion off of that.
Wow.
Right. And so, but this has been going on for a long time. Now, how did he get into that position to where this guy would be so callous that he doesn't care how much suffering he causes? He's here just to make money and control people. How did he get into that? Well, we took a deep dive. George Soros, that's not his real name. It's Georgie Schwartz. He's a Jew.
Yes, he is.
And he's a traitor to the Jewish people.
Yes, he is.
And he grew up, of course, in Hitler's Germany. Watch this. And this is all on tape. And I even got an interview, an archival interview. I couldn't believe I found this, Jim, where he was being interviewed. It looked like it was in the 70s or something, maybe 80s. But he admitted that his family lied about being Jews. They lied about being Christians. And that was bad enough.
Yeah.
While his fellow Jews were being sent off to the Holocaust, to the concentration camps. Then he purposely, as a young teenager, he admitted this on tape, worked with the Nazis to confiscate his fellow Jews' property, gold and whatever.
Wow.
And the interview, I kid you not, Pastor Jimmy, the interview asked him, "Don't you have any remorse for that?" He looks straight in the camera and says, "No." And then he says, "I'm here to make money." And once I saw that, I'm going, got it. Just like with Bill Gates, he's here to make money, murder people. George Soros is here to make money and control people, even on the back of purposely causing their pain and suffering, just like he did with the Jewish people. He turned their backs on them, and in the midst of their pain and suffering, he made bank.
You know, Billy, and one of the things I'm thinking about, President Biden gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Along with Hillary.
Yes. In the White House.
Right.
And you look at open borders, the lives, you know, these violent gangs coming into America, all that they were doing, the borders completely open.
Right.
George Soros is making bank, you know, the behind that, there's an ideology, and that is one world. Mm-hmm. They don't want a sovereign United States. Because you look at what idiot would just open the borders and do that. They want to implode our sovereignty.
Right. America has to go.
America has to go.
If you're going to have a one world government.
That's right. That's right.
But let me show you how he's getting a lot of mileage just off the border issue, right? Because he's here to make money, control people. The border issue, he was making upwards. It was projected, especially if it were to continue, that again, another $1 billion. And part of it was he was the one that was supporting the infrastructure that was helping the illegal immigrants to evade capture and things of that nature. And so he was the one that was developing the app system and all that, believe it or not, to help them evade. And he was making money off of that. Bill Gates is a huge promoter of not just marijuana, but he's a huge supporter of legalizing also heroin, cocaine. I couldn't believe I found this one. Talk about the border. Fentanyl.
Really?
Why? Because he's going to make money